Sponsors, or advertisers, have been associated with the growth of radio from virtually the beginning. The very first sponsor program occurred on May 11th in 1922, when the American Telephone and Telegraph Company opened radio station WEAF in New York City, and its very first sponsor was a local real estate company. Shortly afterwards, remote broadcast originated from the actual scene of events, far from the studio. Now, naturally, telephone lines were the link, and the first small network of stations was called a chain. A football game between the universities of Chicago and Princeton was the very first event to use this remote or on-the-spot description technique. Commercials varied through those early years, and somewhere along the line, some Madison Avenue genius came upon the idea of combining the advertising copy with a song. Billy Jones and Ernie Hare, known as the Interwoven Pair, claimed the distinction of making the first singing commercial.
How do you do, everybody, how do you do? Gee, it's great to say hello to all of you. I'm Billy Jones, I'm Ernie Hare, with the Interwoven Pair. How do you do?
There were other singing commercials, too.
Smoke rings from smoke rings, while a Chesterfield burns.
Barbasol, the brushless shaving cream supreme, leaves your face so smooth and clean.
Pepsi-Cola hits the spot, 12 full ounces, that's a lot. Twice as much for a nickel, too. Pepsi-Cola is the drink for you.
Have you tried Wheaties? They're whole wheat with all of the bran.
Rinso white and Rinso bright.
L-A-V-A,
And modestly, I must add one more commercial that was heard by millions of Americans from coast to coast.
Longines is not lightly called the world's most honored watch, for Longines watches have won 10 World's Fair grand prizes and 28 gold medals. Longines watches have also won more honors for accuracy than any other timepiece. Longines, the world's most honored watch, is a product of the Longines Whitnor Watch Company.
National advertisers were responsible for the growth of still another form of radio, the adventure story and the radio drama. For example, can you forget the soap opera, so named because of its sponsors, which took over so many of the morning and afternoon hours of the average woman's day? I remember The Romance of Helen Trent, one of the most famous of soap operas, and one of the most durable. It sounded like this.
And now, The Romance of Helen Trent. The Romance of Helen Trent. The real-life drama of Helen Trent, who, when life mocks her, breaks her hopes, dashes her against the rocks of despair, fights back bravely, successfully, to prove what so many women long to prove in their own lives, that because a woman is 35 or more, romance in life need not be over. That romance can begin at 35.
In Hollywood last night, Agatha Anthony, who lives with Helen, offered to sit with a neighbor's 2-year-old baby for the evening while the mother, a young serviceman's wife, went out to a party. Mrs. Kane promised to be back early, but 24 hours have passed now, and she has not yet come home. Helen and Agatha have been delighted, of course, to install Patsy temporarily with them. Helen hurried home from the studio this afternoon for the happy privilege of bathing and feeding the pretty little girl. And a short while ago, she tucked her in the extra twin bed in her own room. Then Helen and Agatha talked things over, decided something surely must have happened to Mrs. Kane, and felt they should take steps to find her. So Helen went to the phone to ask Gil Whitney for legal advice. And as she did so, the doorbell rang. Agatha has answered it to see two policemen standing in the hall.
Evening.
Oh, how do you do?
You a friend of Louise J. Kane?
Yes. Yes, I know Mrs. Kane. Just a moment. Helen, will you step here? There's two policemen calling about Mrs. Kane.
Police? What's the trouble?
Well, we found this note you left on the doorknob downstairs. You Miss Anthony?
No, I'm Mrs. Trent. This is Miss Anthony.
Oh. Mrs. Kane is a blonde, right? Blue eyes, about 115 pounds, 5'5".
Yes, that's about it. Why? What's happened to her?
Well, you wouldn't be related to her, would you?
Oh, no, she's just a neighbor. I've been so worried about her. She's been gone since early last night.
Well, I got some bad news for you, I'm afraid.
What is it?
Her body was found this afternoon. Auto wreck.
What? You don't mean she's dead? It simply can't be. I knew something had happened to her. I told you so, Helen.
Agatha, please, dear, try to be calm. Let me think now.
Sounds melodramatic now, sure. But way back then, Helen Trent's friends were an important part of life for the millions who've passed the time of day with radio. And you know, every soap opera ended something like this.
Carl and Jerry look at Anne dumbfounded, for she has such a grim, determined expression on her face. But what, Jerry wonders, could Anne possibly know about Phyllis's strange behavior that he and Carl don't? Listen again Monday to young Dr. Malone and all the other Three Oaks people who are brought to you by pure, all-vegetable Crisco. This is Sandy Becker saying, keep cooking with Crisco. It's all vegetable. It's digestible.
But for sheer excitement and drama, for young and old alike, you're sure to remember such programs as The Green Hornet, I Love a Mystery, Inner Sanctum, The Shadow, and
Sergeant Preston of the Yukon. It's Yukon King, swiftest and strongest lead dog of the Northwest, breaking the trail for Sergeant Preston of the Northwest Mounted Police in his relentless pursuit of lawbreakers. On King! On, you husky! This is the case of the Indian Rebellion, or how Sergeant Preston saved a trading post. On a summer day in 1901, Sergeant Preston mounted on his black horse Rex, with a great dog Yukon King running alongside, near the end of an 8-hour ride from the headquarters at Lake Labarge. Ahead, he saw the Salmon River Trading Post, a big building made of logs, with clay packed between the logs to serve as chinking. Strangely, the windows were covered by winter shutters, and near the door, Preston saw armed men who seemed to be on guard. Jim Crane, a hunter, stepped forward.
Oh, hi, Sergeant. We're glad you're here.
Hello, Jim. Easy boy. Something wrong?
Yes. Chief Foxfire's tribe is on the warpath.
Since when?
A few hours ago. Word spread fast. All the hunters, trappers, and prospectors in the area left their cabins. They brought their families here for protection.
Is the factor inside?
Oh, Trader Jones? Yes.
I'll check with him.
I'll take your horse to the shed behind the building.
Thanks, Jim.
Come on, Rex. Come on.
Come on, King.
Hello, Sergeant.
Hi, Sergeant. Hi, Sergeant.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Jones.
Hello, Sergeant. Did the men outside tell you about the Indians?
Yes. How are you fixed for arms and ammunition?
I have a good stock, and the Indians know it. They may come here to seize the firearms.
You'd better see that all the men are armed and have them poke holes in the chinking between the logs of the walls.
Holes?
Loopholes to shoot through.
Oh, yes, of course.
We have men enough at Lake Labarge to handle the uprising. In addition to the mounted police, there's a detachment of the Yukon Field Force, regular Canadian soldiers.
Lake Labarge is a long way from here.
I'll start back at once. I should reach headquarters by 2 in the morning. When I report the situation, soldiers, as well as police, will be sent here.
Good.
They should arrive by noon tomorrow.
Even if the Indians attack, we should be able to hold them off in the Glen.
Indians!
What?
The Indians are coming. I saw them. They're on all sides.
Close the door. Women and children, lie on the floor close to the wall. Men, take firing position. Tim, try to cover me while I get my horse. I must get word to Lake Labarge.
Oh, you can't make it, Sergeant. We're surrounded.
I'll make it if I can get past the Indians and into the woods.
At least wait until dark.
That'll be another hour at this season, and we can't waste the time.
What's the matter with King?
I don't know. What is it, King, boy? King, you're the one to go.
What do you mean, Sergeant?
King knows what we're saying. He's telling me that he has a better chance of getting past the Indians than a man on horseback.
Well, I'll be... You mean you'll send King?
Yes, just as soon as I write a note and fasten it to his collar.
The following day found the inspector pacing the floor of his office at the Lake Labarge headquarters, and Yukon King paced at his side. Both the man and the dog were worried.
The men should be back, King. They should have returned some time ago. King, I think I hear men singing. King.
Standing at the open door with Yukon King, the inspector saw a column of men riding four abreast emerging from the pine forest. The scarlet tunic seemed to blaze in the orange light of the setting sun. The men sat straight and proud in their saddles, and even the horses held their heads high, as if they, too, felt the glory of victory. The inspector patted King's head and said,
He's back, King.
Hello, Inspector. Hello, King. Good work, boy.
We're both glad to see you, Sergeant.
Sir, the Indians have been subdued.
Well done, Sergeant. The Yukon still belongs to the Crown. This case is closed.
But the most famous of all is the redoubtable Lone Ranger, so long a tradition that I bet you've forgotten how the leading character became the Lone Ranger.
Hi-yo, Silver!
A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-yo Silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver. Let go, big fella. Hi-yo, Silver!
It was mid-afternoon on the anniversary of the massacre in Bryant's Gap when the Lone Ranger and Dan guided their horses past high cliffs toward the canyon's entrance. The ground was littered with rocks of all sizes, some as large as a fair-sized house. When the horsemen came alongside a particularly big boulder that stood a few yards from the base of the cliff, the masked man drew rein.
Stop here, Dan.
Go back to home, I hope. Golly, this is rough country.
It hasn't changed a bit since that day, years ago.
And just ahead of us, there's a gap in the cliff. Is that the entrance to the canyon?
Yes, Dan.
Then why are we stopping here? Isn't that where we're going?
Yes. We leave the horses here in the shade of the boulders, easy.
Oh, yes, sir.
Dan, there's the entrance to the cave.
Oh. Is that where Tonto brought you after he found you wounded in the canyon?
Yes. That's where I first put on a mask, and
became the Lone Ranger.
It's like the hand of fate.
What is, Dan?
You, Cavendish, the long years of smashing that gang, and it all ends right here where it began.
No, Dan, it doesn't end here. We'll keep riding. I'll keep my mask and continue as an unknown man. There are still many outlaws in the West. Men like Cavendish who must be brought to justice.
I want to help. I've shown you that I can use a gun. May I have one of my own?
Yes, Dan. But when you're a man, there'll be law and order in the West, in great cities like those in the East. There will always be bad men, but they'll be different from the kind we know. To combat them, you'll need weapons, and strength and courage. But these must be backed by knowledge and education to handle them intelligently. I'll be content to continue helping others, bring law and order to the West, until you young men can take over.
These programs I remember also.
Jack Armstrong, Jack Armstrong, the all-American boy. Wave the flag for Hudson High, boys. Show them how we stand. Ever shall our team be champions, known throughout the land.
Mr. Keene, Tracer of Lost Persons, is based on the novel Mr. Keene.
Robo Wise presents Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here to introduce this weekly half hour of Suspense.